Good morning, everyone. Brian Walker, CEO of Retail Doctor Group, and I'm delighted this morning to continue to bring you Retrain for the Retail Revolution. And this is our grand final section. This is our finale of the program for now. This series will also be made available for you to resource, of course, and we'll also talk a little further internally about how we can continue to support your retail offering. But for now, we're going to talk about bringing it all together. And you might remember that I started the very first session by saying that very effective or fit retailers tend to look at their business from the outside in. Imagine that you are going to be a prospective buyer for your business. And you're evaluating your business in terms of, would I invest in my business? And therefore, we're going to take that approach as we talk through today about building this more increased value in your business. And so, again, as we've always tried to do, we want to give you some business fitness tips, practical relevant learnings. We certainly want to support you and make sure, if we can, that you're able to put some of these pieces together. And so today will be a bit of a look through the program, but highlighting those key points. And of course, if you recall, and I'll be brief with this, the programs to date around strategy, around our people, around our merchandising, our visual impact, our working capital, our inventory, into our numbers, our profit and loss, our cash flows, how to grow our margins. Then we had a good look at building our online offer and merging it in with our physical store offer, calling that the omni-channel offer. And I'm going to take a couple of slides this morning, a little bit into the future of retail, to give you a little bit of a feel why we take some of the steps we do and the way we talk about building physical retail and online retail excellence. And then we talked about, in the last one, about how, in session 6, about how to build our local marketing profile. Because you might recall me saying it was always about people coming to our brand, to our shop. Now, of course, it's about us going out into the world in our local marketing, our use of social media, and then how we're making those hero lines work through physical stores and online. And then thinking a little bit about the resource, the people that we need. And, I said last time, it's challenging because for many of us in smaller businesses, we're already flat out. We're already, doing the accounts at night and Sunday evening around the kitchen table, working out who we're paying and how our cash flow is. And now along comes this retail doctor and says, and by the way, you should be involved in social media and local marketing and events. And you think, well, that all sounds great. How do I do it? So we dealt with that and talked about that. Today is bringing it all together. So ladies and gentlemen, we're really going to continue to look at how we're getting that point of difference, our great product knowledge, our local promotion, our marketing, our business information systems. What sort of measures do we need to have in our business? And of course, the people. Have we got the right people on the bus? And where are we taking the bus to? So bringing it all together, building our multiples and our growth plan, and building that valuable business. I do want to segue a little bit, probably off script slightly, because very recently I've been talking with and giving a number of presentations on the future of retail. And people talk about it all going online. Well, it's not all going online, far from it. At the moment, online sales in Australia are approximately 14% on average of all retail sales. So 86% done on average in physical stores. And as COVID starts to get a little more controlled, we're seeing a resurgence back into shops. And why is that? That's because we're social by instinct. People like people, by and large. And so as a consequence, the physical retail is being asked to be more entertaining, interesting, enthralling, stimulating. And the online world is really growing in this sense of supporting. That is the commodity product, pointing people into your shop, fulfilling the basics, But where we want real experience, it's going to come in the shops. We talk in the future about the fourth industrial revolution, the ability of data now. That one size fits all, sorry, one size fits one, the evolution of the industrial revolutions brings us to a point now where businesses are able to locate data, locate people, locate product. We spend an average of over 4 hours on our smartphones now, and that's across all ages, which is interesting. And so as a result, we are researchers of information. Your website needs to have good information on it, because we are going to search you out as well as visit your physical store. And we can do it from the comfort of our home, and increasingly we're doing that. And so how do we as businesses continue to innovate, be unique, adapt, and above all, accept that retail is changing? And technology is not just changing retail, it's changing every industry you can think of in some way, shape, or form. And those who ignore it do so at their own peril. It is a fact of life. If your business is 10 or 12% down on last year, and your transactions are a similar number, physical transactions, you can be fairly confident that unless a competitor has moved in that's doing something better than you are, you can be fairly confident that it will be a migration to online as a general sweeping comment. So we need to recapture and grow. And that's why we've talked in this process and these programs about having an online as well as physical store offer. This is a fairly complex slide, but all it's really saying is that we're this fusion of digital, biological, and physical worlds is all changing the way that we as consumers consume not just retail, but education, medicine, arts, a range of topics. And that will continue to change throughout the world. This model briefly just talks about the doubling and fast speeding up of knowledge. So as retail owners and leaders, our ability to be students, be curious, keep being open to change is really the message here. And keep trying things, do things differently, change your windows, change your product, change your online offer, do all these things. And look, it does sound like it's challenging, but it's also a world of opportunity if we do it well. And it's funny, isn't it? Everything old is new again. And for many businesses that our parents ran, delivery, home delivery was something you just did. You jumped in the car with delivery at the end of the day and took it to your customers. You remember newspaper deliveries and grocery deliveries and all those things that, your parents and your parents' parents lived with all the time. Well, now, of course, with technology, increasingly there's an expectation of the return of these value-added services. And if you're a business that can add value to customers that differentiates you from alterations, if you're in a fashion business, to home delivery, to all those wonderful things we can do, particularly to your high-value customers, then that's something else that we need to sort of add to the armory. And here I am in this programming, adding more and more to what we need to do. But that's the nature of change, I think. It's about reaching our customers in a way that speaks to them. I want today to talk about Amazon. We do talks on Amazon, but it was interesting. Here's Amazon Go in the US. This is a soon to be $2 trillion market cap company. This is a shop that you or I can go into. We don't have people serving us. We don't have cash registers. Everything is done via our smartphone. So you just walk in, grab the product you want, walk out again. Now, we're a long way from that. Oh, by the way, there's scanners and sensors and it all measures and takes it and charged to a customer's credit card and the like. But it's just showing you the thinking and the progress that's taking part in a lot of retail. Here's Amazon in London. It's just opened a hairdressing salon where, again, yes, there are hairdressers, of course, but there are no cash registers, product online. You can get your physical experience in the store, the cut, if you like, and everything else is done online. So, we don't have to carry product around. We don't have to do all that as customers. It's all done for us and delivered. And that 75% of all searches will be completed without a screen in Australia by 2028. What that's really saying, of course, is that we're going to continue to use our smartphones. We're going to continue as customers to look online, to look at our iPads and our screens. Some of us have the Alexa artificial intelligence that can tell us all sorts of things about the world, from the products you carry to when you're open, to the weather, to favorite music, whatever it may be. Artificial intelligence is continuing to grow. That's machine learning. So retail jobs will change over time.
Here's something I found on the web.
Foresight and innovation are the only two things that can set you apart from your competition today. Excuse me for 1 second, ladies and gentlemen.
Artificial intelligence field is growing fast.
You can't see this, but in the corner of the room is an Alexa artificial intelligence from Amazon. It heard me say the words and it started to tell me all about AI. So foresight and innovation are the two things that set us apart from our competition. And so what we've tried to do in this program is really think about how do we adapt to change, we acknowledge change, and then how do we as retailers still do the basics brilliantly and consider how we can continue to differentiate. Now, I want to take us back through the sessions in particular. And for those who've seen me present this type of topic to audiences, on the stage or what have you, I'd like to ask the audience who has a business for sale. And that's the starting point for improvement. How many of us would like to sell our business in time to come for a greater return than what we paid for it? Just as we buy a house or an apartment or what have you, that we're able to sell it for more than we purchased it for. And when we buy these houses, typically we improve them. And then in turn, we're able to make those improvements. Well, in the same way, we're looking to make improvements to our retail business. So the opening position is to think of your business as an investor or a seller if your business. Would I buy my business is the opening position. And you might recall we talked briefly about multiples. Well, multiples really are just a multiple of profit. So very classically, a buyer would look at your business and say, okay, does it have a good differentiated position? Strong cash flows, and you remember we talked about that. Independence from the owner, that is, I as a buyer could come into the business and run it happily and wouldn't have to be overly reliant on the owner. Does it have a growing database? And we've talked about data because data is the way, one of the big things of the future and currently. And if you look at the top 3 retailers in the world, or actually the top 5 businesses in the world, they're all about data. It doesn't have all these features in play. And if it does, then I'm going to say that that business is worth, firstly, 3 times its present profit. So it takes profit over 3 years and averages it and calls that present value. And then if it has all those aspects in play, I look at it and go, well, you know what? There's future income to this business. I'm going to assign a future value to it. Let's call it 2. So let's give you an example of that. That would make a multiple of 5. So if the business on its present value, let's say it made a profit of $300,000 a year for the sake of the discussion, then of course its present value would be 900,000. But if we said it's got a multiple future value of 2, that would be 600,000. So that business would be worth 1.5 million to buy. Now, we concentrate on adding all these things into our thinking when we're talking about improving our business. It's a really important part to know. What is the end game for my business? And you might recall we talked about business strategy, not because we have to be strategists and not because we have to write great big business plans, but that we've got a couple of goals for our business and ourselves personally that says, in 3 years, I want to grow the sales from 1 to 1.2 or whatever it might be. I want to grow my profit margins by X to Y, or I want to open another shop, or I'd like to sell in 5 years, or whatever those goals are, that you have them clearly as your end game. You remember I was mentioning about the reading of a book, and it's like reading the last page and working your pages back, working back through the book. So do try and have a bit of a contemplation, ladies and gentlemen, about what is my end game for my business? Where do I want the business to be in 5 years? Do I have this? Am I building my future value as well as my present value, if you like? Is my brand strong? Have I got a good brand message? Have I got a good growing database? Am I growing my profitability? Remember, from physical, my gross profit, sales minus cost of goods sold, my product. Am I getting better trading terms? Am I selling more product at first margin? Am I growing my wages relative to my sales? Am I growing my expenses underneath the ratio of sales growth so my profit increases? Have I got good business information systems? Am I low reliance on the owner? And if we've got all these things clearly in play, then we will attract a better end outcome for our business. And whatever that may be is entirely for you. And I have talked a lot about what makes great retailers stand out. It was interesting today, I looked at Super Retail's results before coming on for this session. And you look at their businesses of Rebel, and you look at their businesses of Super Cheap and so forth. And yes, absolutely assisted by COVID. But there's the CEO talking about the clear point of difference each business division has. What makes a consumer motivated and attracted to your business? And I do encourage you, as we do at Retail Doctor Group, to always be working on this. Increasingly, it will be less about physical store channel and online channel. It will be about your brand. It will be about what consumers think about your brand, that you're super convenient, super friendly, super great product, super prices, super locations, that your brand, your representation of the brand is what will attract people. And then they will just do business with you anytime they choose, and again, in that integrated way. It's really interesting. We do a lot of mystery shopping just to bring this into the shops. And we see very consistently that there is 3 seconds in which customers have to understand what's in your window, come into your shop, and nothing makes a sales relationship and a customer experience better than friendly, attentive, smiling staff who acknowledge within 30 seconds, who don't ask, can I help you? They ask about how your day is, or the weather, or non-business. And they build that rapport and that relationship. And if they know you by name, they use their name. And better still, they use their name. Because humans love the human social interaction. So first impressions always count. And are your customers having a good time in your shops? Is it time well spent for them? Or is it the same old, windows not changed, stock in the same position it was 2 weeks ago, lots of tickets, bit untidy, bit dusty, staff not particularly motivated, shop's a bit dark? Well, that's not really time well spent for customers. So how do we as retailers make that brand come alive and give our customers a time well spent model? And then we can also put some product online that they can buy that evening. And that's time well saved for them. So we want to have a bit of both. We want to have an offer that gives them time well spent and gives them time well saved as well. So that 24/7. And it's important. The other day I was looking at shops and thinking, gee, that shop needs a coat of paint. Let's just dial up that time well spent model in our stores. Point of difference, you'll know me for that because I'm very strong on that. Remember, we talked about we're specialists, we're there to add value. if we don't. And branding, by the way, is ultimately about protecting your gross profit. When customers come at you for price, it's because it's too high on the list of your point of difference. That uniqueness, that great unique product, friendly staff, wonderful environment, that should sit all above price. Oh, and including convenience. That should all be above price. If you find yourself in negotiations with customers every day on price, I would argue that our brand and unique proposition is not strong enough. How do you get customer feedback? You remember we talked about that. How do we build, asking people for data, getting some of their details, their spend? How many of us send out a birthday card to our top 50 spenders a year, our top 50 customers? How are we really looking after customers over and above? Because it is competitive. And what do we do better than our competitors? These are all questions that are valuable to ask and things to do that really reward our customers. Because, as you know, and we've talked about, customers can see you in all sorts of different ways. And so we need to be there to meet them on all these fronts over time. And increasingly, our customers are demanding this. If you've got a website, it has to be mobile enabled because the vast majority of shopping is and will be done on mobile phones. If we've got a unique position in the market and a really interesting story to share on a consistent basis, we have to be on a social media platform. Store I've talked about, online I've talked about, and we need to be using our customer data over time to segment it. Male, female, age, product mainly, segmenting our database. So having good resources around us, the local marketing specialist, doesn't have to be an employee, it can be subcontract, there's plenty available to help us. Nearly 80% of consumers interact with brands or products through digital before arriving at the physical stores. So this is a really important concept, this idea of 3 stages. Before I visit your shop, I'm looking at you online. I come into your shop, wonderful experience. And then afterwards, I have a post, I'm asked to join the community, join your database. Thanks for my loyalty. If you think how you're treated as a customer when you leave a shop. So, you know, classically it's thanks very much, have a great day, see you later. That's the end of it versus the retailer that says, hey, are you part of our loyalty program? Would you like to come onto our VIP database? And this is why. These are the benefits. And then joining the dots so that customer continues to come back, which shortens the purchase cycle, and then reward them for telling their friends. Because great relationships through the change of retail never change. And what I love about, you know, particularly regional retail is they are masters at building great relationships. And I really encourage you to continue to do that because these people know you. Once they love you, they'll tell their friends, and they can tell their friends at a much greater multiple now with social media than ever before. On both sides of the ledger, the great experience and the not so great. Do have that e-commerce website play, ladies and gentlemen. It's important. Even if it's just a tracker to show people where you are. Get yourself a good website agency, and there's plenty out there, with good search engine optimization, those keywords that customers can pick up on, you know, like your location, but importantly, your uniqueness and why people should visit you, a map to where you are and how to find you. All those things count. And yes, let's start building our database if we don't have one already. It is important, and increasingly buyers will be looking for that as well. And it's really quite an asset done well. How are these stats, ladies and gentlemen? This is 2021. For those of us, let's have a look at a couple. For those of us on Netflix, in 1 minute around the world, there are 764,000 hours watched. Facebook has 1.3 million people logging in 1 minute. For those of us on, well, I'm not familiar with this one, but for Tinder, there's 1.6 million swipes in a minute globally, which is a lot, isn't it? And there's $1.1 million spent online in a minute globally. So this world has exploded of social media. It can't be ignored. It has to be embraced, but in a way that is meaningful to you. It's a conversational platform. It's not, even though some businesses do sell, and there will be a growth of social media sales or e-commerce. For us, it's a conversational piece, building our community, listening to their feedback, understanding what they like, and sharing with them the knowledge that we bring and the products that we bring. These are just a few more stats. 500 million tweets are written per day, 2.8 billion Facebook monthly active users, and customer engagement. This is an interesting stat too. Excuse me 1 second. We know this for a fact, that if customers are engaged with you, they spend more with you. When they walk into your shop, you've got great merchandise layout, great category assortment. You know, you've got your socks with your shoes, with your trousers. You've got all your add-on products neatly displayed. You've got clear category management in your shops. I can stand at your lease line and see exactly what it is you want me to buy, where you want me to go, what you want me to do. I can walk the entire shop, come out at a different spot. And then when I go, and I've got great, wonderful staff serving and so forth. And then when I go online, there's your knowledge, your information, and photos of your shop and your product and your pride shows. And I can even order some products online. Or when I walk into your shop, you might not have the shirt in my size, but you say to me, tell you what, I'll get it for you. It'll be here for you in a day or two. Or you could even order online if you wanted to. Here's the link. Or better still, I'll do it for you. So those channels come together. We talked about having a marketing plan, about having good direct email, being available on search, local marketing, going out and running events. And you might recall all the ways in this slide that we can build that marketing plan. Just as we should have a buying plan, we should have a sales forecast, a marketing plan, and a buying plan, and a wage roster. There really are 4 key operational pieces. You know, and our retail marketing mix must be bang on target with the expectations of our customers, and really building, and with our marketing, we're building sales, and we're building our database, we're building our customer visitation. And using all the channels that make great sense for us. You know, if we've got great success in radio or in print, then by all means, go for it. But measure it. Know when you put a campaign in the marketplace, you can measure it. Number of redemptions, if that's what you're offering, increase in sales, or increase in database, or all of the above. But do measure, because if we don't measure and then record and keep a record of how that campaign went, how will we know next time the opportunity presents itself, whether in fact it's worthwhile or not? And you might recall we talked about the 6 Ps process. So we want to have great product, great place, which is our stores and so forth, increasing on online as well, good pricing, great promotion, wonderful people, and good internal processes and good business information system measurements. And if you look at these key elements, you know, our product assortment, our place, our price, all the things we've touched on, this is all available to you, but it's revisiting. And I do encourage you to stand outside your shops and really look at your shop as a buyer, as a customer, and go, gee, Is it really clear? Why have I got low profit product at the front of the shop when in fact I should really have it as a destination at the middle or back of the shop? Why did they put my new season product, which is hot and high margin and ready to go, at the back of the shop? Can I get really good numbers out of my business? Can I measure my sales, my average sale, my items per sale, my gross profit sell through? Can I measure all these things? Can I measure clearly? When I look at my people, am I doing a bit of mystery shopping? Have I got great, am I coaching my people? Do I spend, half an hour a week with my full-timers, coaching them on moving the numbers, giving them the skills? Remember, we talked about product knowledge was one of the key aspects. Give them great product knowledge, that they understand the features, but most importantly, we sell on benefits. And selling on benefits means we must listen to customers and understand what the benefit of the product is to that customer. And we've talked about promotion, but are we out there promoting our business day in, day out? In store, the visual merchandise I've touched on, the layout of shop, the ease of shopping, moving through the business. Are we appealing? Have we got great lighting? Have we got great layout? Are we easy to figure out? Are we impactful? Is our point of difference so easy to understand in that window? And are we interesting? If we're fashion, are we changing our windows 48 times a year? If we're an electronic retailer, have we got great movement in the shops and energy and freshness? Are the shops clean? Have we got great lighting? And above all, as a customer, are you taking me on a bit of a journey? Have we got hot spots, warm spots, cold spots, impulse at the front of the shop, warm spots at the middle, and cold spots at destination, pure destination? Okay, it has lower customer traffic. Don't put your destination product in the front window, and particularly unless it's sale time, don't put your discounted product at the front, because you are giving off prime retail space for a lower operating return. Remember, we said stand outside the shop, look at traffic flow throughout the shop, look at the way customers navigate, look at your product and go, okay, what's the aging of my product? Have I got 20% or more of my product, generally speaking, that's over 9 months of age, or even 6 months? Because if I have, I might be ending up with some problem stock that I need to clear. Because we don't want to hang on to it for too long, otherwise we turn into a museum. How are we making sure all our staff know our high profit product? We're sharing with them the numbers, the long-standing full-timers. We're working with them. Are we getting our best sellers in the most danger of being sold? And one of the pieces of this program, ladies and gents, is for us to really contemplate the power of product in a retail business. It determines our sales, largely. It determines our position, point of difference, largely. It certainly determines our cash flow position. And remember, we said it's a bit like a house guest that snores. Get it in, treat it nicely, and get it out again very quickly. The quickest you can with the highest pricing is exactly where you aim for. And remember, ideally, we said, try to buy your product in a way that you pay for it as late, within your trading terms as you can. So the idea is to buy the product in, sell it, at least half of it, pay for it. Then you're working in a more cash flow positive way. Where retailers get caught is that they don't plan their buying to their sales. Remember, the buying forecasts and sales forecasts right down to category level. They're married. We can't have one without the other. And you remember we talked about buying plans and buying forecasts linking to sales into categories. We want to plan that out methodically. And then when we go to buy, we've got a very good record of what's sold from a supplier. That's important. And we're able to negotiate in a far better way if we've got good history and good science. Try not to buy too much of what you love. Buy what you've got a good measure of and what's recorded and you know sells well. We also talked about people, the other critical P part of our retail business. You know, you want to create this warm, embracing culture that many of you have, and the people want to be part of a team. And quite often I'll ask people, well, what is a team? And they'll say, well, a team is a group of happy people. Yes, well, not quite. That's important, but not quite. That they're motivated. That's true. That they like each other. That's nice as well. But what makes a team is a group of individually productive people working towards a common goal. And the two words I want to draw out from that are goal and productive. So again, here's our goal-driven behavior that makes great retail. Have we got sales targets? Are we giving people individual accountability? Are we measuring our sales, our average sale, our items per sale, and so forth? Are we coaching our people? Are we getting them to understand that their role is to help you build the business? Are you sharing some of your end goals around sales and targets and forecasts? Because the ethos of motivation is goal-driven behavior. So good retailers, fit retailers, create goal-driven behaviors. And without goal-driven behaviors, if I come in, I work for you, and one day is like the next, and the next, and the next, and I've got no real goals, then I'm probably not very motivated. And if there's no consequence for learning and no environment to learn, if I'm really good, I probably won't hang around for long. And so we want to keep our great people and keep them motivated, keep them winning. And unless we know the scores, we can't be winning. So we need to set scores in our business around goals and really praise publicly our winners and coach privately the people that we think could do even better. We had a quick look at wages. They can easily fluctuate, but they naturally have a direct relationship to our sales to a point. If our sales drop a bit, we can't cut into wages, but we've got to look at our transaction counts, make sure we're productive, that we're well rostered. We roster well where our people are in place, good customer coverage, and that we've got all that happening. No surprise, in the store operationally, I'm a big one for keeping focus on the score. So what does it look like? Are you a fashion business that does $4,000 a square meter or $10,000 a square meter? Are you a business that has stock turn of 5 and the category benchmark is 6? Are you a business that looks at all this and says, how do I do better? How do I increase my sales per square meter, my stock turn, my average sale? Or are you a business that doesn't look at that? We would encourage you to look at that. Because underneath that differentiated, unique, branded experience that draws people to you, you want to have a very good machine for measurement and recognition and reward and measurement across physical and your growing online business. How many unique visits am I getting? How long do they stay on the site? What are my product sales like? What's my return ratio? And so forth and so on. And they are all part of the KPIs here. And it is, I used to work with a business and we used to talk about track and train. So the investment is to measure and then to improve by training, such as this sort of work and your own coaching work. And then reward those staff that go over and above sales targets, over and above in whatever you've asked them to do. Could be a couple of tickets to the movie. Could be anything like that, a shout out at the local pizza shop. Whatever it is, it can go a long way. We're not all motivated by financial rewards. So as we work with our teams, we learn about our team members' motivators. But it is good to get, it's also good to get your retail teams out every now and again for a pizza or, you know, some bonding and team building experiences. That's good for culture, good for the business, and obviously good for the individual. So how do you create this additional value? And that's really the question, because, and what we've tried to address here is it's about being adaptive and embracing change in the way that we've talked about. And it's also doing the basics brilliantly. Recall inventory, don't overbuy, try to avoid that. It chokes up stock, it kills cash flow. The idea is to sell more with less stock. So that's about all those aspects we talked about, including teaching your people how to substitute sell where they need to, and how to sell items with each other. Now, it's not about having too low a stock. If your stock is too low, you might recall, we miss sales. And when we miss sales, well, that's equally not as good. So it's about the fine line. If you're a business that has a stock turn of 6, or perhaps I could rephrase that. Let's say you're a business doing $600,000 in sales, for the sake, or the shop is, let's say, and that it has average retail value of 100,000. Its stock turn is 6. The category might be 4. So that tells me in some of the categories within the, so the sector might be 4. Within the category mix, we're missing sales. So stock turn is a good indicator, but what happens within the respective categories, such as the categories in this slide, is really what we need to know. And you go back into the webinar podcast and you'll see the content on stock turns. And if you do a little stock turn analysis, sales for that category, like men's jackets, divided by average stock at retail, you'll soon see how many times on average that product is turning over in a year. And that's an important measure of the effectiveness of our business. It's not what you don't have that puts you out of business, it's what you have too much of. And you recall with stock, it was an important aspect. So we dedicated a webinar module to it, measuring the product basics, the quantity, the profile, that's the aging profile, the footprint, the stock turn I've touched on, the sell-through, and how you perform against benchmarks. All this content tells us how fit and healthy that business is. We certainly looked at category mixes. We looked at the way sales plans are done best by category. My store will do this much over the year. Its main departments are men's and ladies' wear, for the sake of discussion. And my categories cover jumpers, trousers, blouses, skirts. Subcategory is the brand, possibly, or the size, and the items, the individual SKU. And we're measuring these profiles. Now, your point of sale system can do all this for you. A good point of sale system is fundamentally a merchandise warehouse, if you like, and it's effectively informing sales. So every time you sell a product, it reduces the inventory warehouse, if you like, online in the cloud by 1 unit. And it's linked to a replenishment model that says, depending on your settings, how to replenish. So do carry the right inventory. Do focus very closely on the performance of that inventory, and that will deliver back. And quite often, just by some of these pieces, you should be able to easily lift sales 5 to 10% and certainly reduce your inventory hold dramatically in achieving that and getting those nice sell-throughs. So today we've talked about financial performance. It is critical about driving our multiples, our financial performance. We talked about measuring our profitability, our gross profit through our operating costs. That's also in the webinar called Fiscal Physical, and how you're getting a greater return on your invested capital. In that same module, we talked about our sales, our margins. So very happy for you to go back through that at any point. Considering the engines of our retail business. So possibly, if I was doing this diagram again, I'd put brand in there, but our brand, our space, how we make that physical and online space work, how we make that 200 square meters work in our stores, our great people, that never stops. It's always about continuously improving. And you ideally want people who are keen and want to continuously improve themselves. Our product mix, we've talked quite a lot about that, so you're strong on that. Our service models. We've got rules and engagement around customers. We don't ask closed-ended questions, we ask open-ended questions, and we engage customers in conversations. Space, we're driving our sales per square meter, our hotspots, our people, we're looking at our sales return per person, we're looking at all those metrics I've touched on. Our product, we're looking at our product return, gross margin return on inventory. That's also one of the webinars. And service, we're looking at our throughput, a dwelling time for customers, and above all else, a great interaction with customers. So what affects all this productivity, ladies and gentlemen? Well, of course, location. You've got to be where the fish are. You might save on rent, but don't put yourself in the back street unless you are absolutely the only one in town and everyone wants you and you're a real destination player. The number of times I've seen retailers move to secondary sites because they get less rent, and it's typically flawed. There's a reason why a site has less rent. But that said, if you are looking at a location, do your numbers in advance. You know, in a regional market, you wouldn't want to be paying more than about 15 to 16% in sales for the spot. And in metro, it's up higher, 22, 24. And that also all varies depending on the type of business you are. And of course, as you know, your gross margin percent on your sales. Nothing will affect productivity more than inconsistent leadership. Hot one day, cold the next. Don't measure anything. People just atrophy. Underinvested people in training, that's part of that inconsistent leadership, gives us demotivated people. And also quite often you'll see retailers trying to buy better, buy cheaper, and they drop their quality. We always want to be known for a great quality of product, even relative to the price point. You might recall those three drivers, our balance sheets, our P&Ls, and our efficiencies covered in fiscal, physical, and effective people modules we've talked through. Again, we linked back to give a little bit of a look at the balance sheet. It's linked to the P&L. We want to be growing that owner's equity. And again, that's in fiscal, physical. But remember right from the get-go, what are we doing? We're going to drive increased value in our retail business, increased wealth for the owners effectively, and increased sustainability of the business. Now that increased wealth, or at least the ability to purchase new assets or repay debt with that additional value created, is what we're going to, is the aim of what we're doing. Start with the end in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Always begin with the plan. And very happy to help you along the way there. Gather your information, calculate where you need to be, check out those benchmarks, plan and take action. And bringing it all together in the 7 webinars we've had, ladies and gentlemen, I do hope as recorded podcasts that you do take time out as you're driving into work or whatever it may be to listen to these webinars. They're part of the Fit for Business series. They're all productized in the sense that you can pick off any one topic. And of course, as you wisely know, they're all interrelated, like cogs in wheels in a bicycle, if you like, or cogs in a wheel. Do start with that end game, focus on that point of difference, and then look at all your different investment levers, your investment in customer, your investment in product, your investment in people, and look to drive those returns. Retail is a fascinating business because you're always dealing with instant results. You've got different customers, so you've got to be a bit of a psychologist. You've got to really think through the whole marketing now and the online piece. So that's an additional set of skills often. And we're leaders and influencers of people. And so our responsibility is to lead them to positive outcomes, which in turn have a social and economic return for us. And be proud out there, build great brands, build great stories. And in the background, measure your investment. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Brian Walker from Retail Doctor Group. I thoroughly enjoyed working with you and the team out here, Woomera. It's been wonderful. And to people like Vanita and Mark, great teams, great people, and vitally interested in your success and your growth as retailers. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for today. If you have any questions about any of the podcasts or any of the content, or we can help you in any way, please contact either retaildoctor.com.au or brian@retaildoctor.com.au. And we also invite you to come onto our newsletter, where we produce a complimentary monthly newsletter on all things retail. We've done that for about 14 years, I think. And I hope that's also of value to you. And for those who've stayed the course and been with the program, my compliments, and I sincerely hope that it's been a benefit to you. Thanks for the opportunity, everyone.
Thank you, Brian. And just before we go, I just want to reiterate what Brian has said, but I also want to thank you, Brian, and the Retail Doctor Group for the very professional and relatable content that you've presented to us over the 7-week series. It's been absolutely fantastic. I also would like to thank Brendan O'Loughlin and the team at Ace Radio for their promotional support for the program. It's been awesome. But most importantly, I want to thank everybody that decided to take a chance, the participants who gave up their hour every Wednesday morning to come and learn something new and invest in their own business. And that's amazing. And that's wonderful to know that we've got these great retail businesses out there looking to improve all the time. It's great for our region. And as Brian said, there are other opportunities to continue your retail journey, and we'll make sure that you get all those links to the newsletter and the websites and podcasts and so forth that Brian has been referring to. But please, I encourage you to share your experience with your colleagues. We will be making this program available to everyone in the Wimmera Southern Mallee online, so they'll be able to go and get educated at their own leisure in their own time. So once again, thank you everyone for your attendance. Thank you, Brian, for your professionalism, for sharing your knowledge. It's been wonderful. And we look forward to working with you again in the future.
Thanks, Vanita, and happy fit retailing for everyone involved. Thank you. Thanks
Wonderful.
again. We'll see you out there.